Thanks for watching. I guess this is the last true surprise for 2022, which is this new release. I think nobody saw this coming. This is the all-new Losi PolaRey. Losi has of course shocked us earlier this year as well with the Losi HemiStorm. Right now they do it again with this Losi PolaRey. I already threw the box to the side because nobody wants to look at a bunch of cardboard and a couple of boring specs. So I figured that it would be better for us to just have a look at the actual vehicle and see what it's all about. It makes way more sense, I think, to just go over stuff in the flesh rather than me pointing at a box and telling you a bunch of boring stuff that you really do not want to know. Of course, this thing also comes with a manual. If you have never seen an RC in your life and you're about to set your house on fire, go and read it. If not, just throw it in a drawer, just like I did, because you really have no need for it. Let's start with some of the boring stuff first, which is this Spectrum radio. It does come, this Losi PolaRey does come with 4 AA batteries, which is what you need to power up this Spectrum DX3 radio. This radio is a 3-channel radio, so there's a little toggle switch over here in the center. This feels really nice, really grippy. I have huge hands, and this radio, to my hands, it fits well. It has a foam steering wheel, yeah, it just does everything it needs to do. So all of your trim switches are seated in the front over here. Also your dual rate, all of your reverse switches are located in the top. And you can, of course, also, if you want to do that, you can set your throttle to 75 or 50% or 100%. So there's like a limiter on here. If you give this to somebody who is like not completely capable, like for example, a kid or I can make a ton of remarks here, but I won't. Like a kid, for example, you put it on 50%. If you're just going to run this yourself, just put it on 100%. It does have the Spectrum Smart battery level indicator as well. So if you are running Spectrum Smart batteries, you will be able to see how much battery you have left on the radio. Isn't that great? Yeah, so this thing, Losi advertises this as a 1/10 scale vehicle. They also did that with the HemiStorm. That has nothing to do with the actual scale of the vehicle, because it's not like I'm a really tiny man. I'm a huge dude. I'm 6'2", and this is actually a 1/7 scale vehicle, or at least I think that it sits in that range rather than 1/10 scale. 1/10 scale has more to do with everything that happens underneath, and also wheels and tires, stuff like that. So that's why I'm thinking that they're still calling it 1/10 scale. Does make it really easy to comprehend also in the aftermarket department. I have already taken this thing out for a quick spin, and it performs really, really well. It's pretty easy to compare it with the HemiStorm I found, because apart from the wheel size, all of it kind of corresponds with what is happening with the HemiStorm underneath. So it has the exact same Spectrum 130 amp ESC, that is 2 or 3S capable, has the exact same Spectrum brushless motor, 3150 kV. The steering servo is the exact same, along with the receiver, so there's really no surprises there. I do think that it's interesting that seeing this is a side-by-side seater and it would have independent rear suspension. Losi went with an approach with a solid rear axle, but I'm really not hating on the look at all, because I do think that it works well. If you have kind of those more dune prepped or off-road prepped Polaris RZR vehicles, they would actually look more like this than they would with like independent rear suspension. So this is a really clever setup. Also, of course, makes it really easy to source spare parts in case you break something. There's a lot of new licensing partners as well. I think that we have to sort of go over the truck and have a look at those. It starts with the doors. There's of course a Losi logo on the back part of, well, it's not really a door, but like a side panel to indicate that this is the new Losi PolaRey. Then there's a Fox logo to indicate that these shocks are again Fox licensed, so that's really cool. That's something that carries over from the HemiStorm, because those Curry trucks also had some licensed Fox shocks. I think it just looks great, adds some realism as well. This is new, there's a Troy Lee Designs logo on the roof. Of course, a Polaris RZR logo, again a Losi logo, again a Fox logo, and then of course This is an Horizon hobby product, so a Horizon logo as well sitting in the front. And then over here the BD is a Baja Designs, which indicates that there is a full light kit installed over here, which is super cool. So with that light kit, they have a tiny light bar sitting in the front bumper, 2 functioning headlights, big light bar sitting underneath the roof, and then 2 LEDs on each side to indicate some taillights, which is pretty cool looking, I think. A big radiator in the back. Another licensing partner that we are familiar with is Magnaflow. So a big collector box over here, some tailpipes sticking out from the sides, really aggressive looking. No licensed rims on this vehicle, but it does have the Interco Super Swamper tires. These are contrary to what you would perhaps expect on a vehicle like this. These are not 2.2 sized wheels, but these are actually 1.9 sized, but it's a relatively tall tire. So I do think that it looks great. Everything behind it is the exact same that you would find on the HemiStorm, for example. So those faux brake discs, those are still installed. The faux calipers also still installed. It's just that I think proportionate or proportion-wise, this vehicle looked a bit better with a 1.9 size wheel. If you want to put some 2.2s on here, there is plenty of clearance I found behind that front wheel towards that inner fender for you to put some bigger wheels on here without them interfering or rubbing or anything like that. Speaking of those front fenders, if we have a close look over there, you see that there is a Losi PolaRey logo ghosted in there, and underneath this vehicle is completely identical to the HemiStorm. So it has the telescopic drive shafts in the front, really plush feeling shocks with plastic shock bodies, but everything is plenty stout and plenty durable for it to actually hold up to some abuse. It has a double sandwich chassis, so an aluminum chassis plate and an aluminum top plate just to keep everything intact. In case you do go really bashing with it, you could run, I dare say that, you could run a 4S battery on this vehicle, just seeing that the wheels are slightly smaller. However, Losi only recommends running this on 3S Max, and I do agree with that, because this is a vehicle you don't really want to bash the crap out of it. You really want to take this over some more technical, some more tactical terrain, and then have the occasional blast run with it, just in order to get some speed in and some aggression out. And I think for that purpose this vehicle is fantastic. It is of course a more realistic, more scale looking vehicle than your average basher, and 3S for that purpose is more than enough. Also make sure that you have some longer run times. If you want to pop in a battery, it works the exact same as it works with the HemiStorm. So over here you see the on-off switch in the back, and beside that there is a compartment for your battery, so you can just slide the battery in from the back, plug it in, and you are good to go. I'm currently I have plugged in a Gens Ace battery, or I haven't plugged it in, but it is installed in the battery compartment. 3S gives me plenty of runtime. And if you want to do some maintenance to the truck, that's also pretty important. You can still just take the screws out of the bottom, and the entire motor assembly drops out from the bottom, giving you access to the pinion in case you want to do some maintenance or have a look at it. The interior as well is very detailed, so there's a lot of stuff to look at over there. The navigator has its own little navigation system. There's plenty of switches and buttons. There's a nice steering wheel. Helmets, there's a lot of detail, some Sparco licensing going on over there as well. There's some forged carbon in those seats, and then accompanied with some American flags. In the front over here, right behind that Baja Designs logo, you will see that there's some faux reservoirs. I think just to indicate that there's some more stuff going on in that front suspension than there actually is, because this is of course not functioning, but it does look really cool. Speaking of looking cool, I also really like what they did in giving us a tiny window in the side, just so you can see the functionality of those dual rear shocks. All of that looks fantastic, and also the sway bar is installed in the exact same place that you would find it with the HemiStorm. The HemiStorm has a faux sway bar sitting in the back, and the actual sway bar sits close to the chassis, and that's the exact same thing that they have used over here. Big Polaris RZR logo on the door, of course. I think that they did a good job in keeping this paint scheme kind of simple, but also to still make it pop and still make it look realistic. It comes in two different colors, this blue one, and then they also have a reddish, orangish color available. I, however, like the blue way more, so I'm really happy that I got this version available to me like pre-release to have some fun with. What I do really want to show still is the lights. So if we just turn the radio on, pop the battery in, or at least plug it in, and then turn the truck on, you can have a look at what they did with the lights. Lights, of course, are a really important part of the Polaris RZR in giving it a face. And I think they kind of nailed it over here. You got the big light bar sitting in the top, smaller light bar in the bumper, and then of course those really characteristic headlights within that center light that goes on in the front. Taillights as well illuminate plenty. So this is all set to provide you with some evening fun during the darker days. Right now it is December at the time of this recording. It is really dark outside in the evenings, and this really helps me to keep track of the truck when it is a bit more gloomy outside. If you want to have more information about the Losi PolaRey, go have a look in the video description box. All of the information will be there, also where you can pick one up. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments section, and I will be more than happy to provide you with all of the information. If you want to see more footage about me running this Losi PolaRey, keep an eye out, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell, you know it, all the good stuff. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. I hope I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Back on.